We invite them into our homes. We watch them grow up on our screens. Their innocence and talent a source of pure joy. They are the child stars, the chosen few who achieve global fame before they can even drive a car. To us, they live a fairy tale life of glamour and fortune. But behind the curtain of Hollywood, a very different story often unfolds. A story not of fairy tales, but of nightmares. A world where innocence is a commodity to be sold, where childhoods are sacrificed at the altar of ratings and box office returns, and where the brightest smiles often hide the deepest pain. Tonight, we pull back that curtain. We uncover the harrowing truths that the industry would rather you never knew. The stories of exploitation, abuse, and addiction that were systematically buried. These are the 21 dark secrets about the child stars we thought we knew. Jennette McCurdy. For millions, she was the wisecracking, lovable Sam Puckett on Nickelodeon's iCarly, a comedy powerhouse, a vibrant star in the squeaky clean world of kids' TV. But the title of her bombshell memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, rips that facade to shreds. The dark secret wasn't just backstage drama. It was a home life of horrific abuse. McCurdy revealed a childhood dictated by her mother's obsessive ambition, which included forced calorie restriction from the age of 11 to delay puberty and keep her looking young for roles. She alleges she was forced to endure invasive weekly weigh-ins and was even showered by her mother until she was 16. This manipulation and control, all under the nose of the industry, led to a years-long battle with anorexia, bulimia, and alcohol abuse. The funny girl on TV was, in reality, a prisoner in her own life, her trauma a secret buried for the sake of a successful show. Judy Garland. Long before the modern era of celebrity, Judy Garland was the original child prodigy, her voice defining a generation in The Wizard of Oz. She was MGM's golden goose. But the magic on screen was manufactured through a system of horrific abuse that the studio actively covered up to keep the young star thin and energetic enough for grueling, non-stop workdays. Studio executives put her on a strict diet of chicken soup, black coffee, and 80 cigarettes a day. More sinisterly, they plied her with amphetamines, pep pills, to keep her awake for 72-hour work sessions, followed by barbiturates to force her to sleep. She was a teenager, locked in a cycle of studio-mandated drug addiction. The industry didn't just ignore her suffering, it created it, profiting from her talent while systematically destroying her, leading to a lifelong battle that ended her life at just 47. Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman was one of the biggest stars of the 80s, a core member of the Brat Pack generation with hits like The Goonies, Stand By Me, and The Lost Boys. He was the cool, rebellious kid everyone wanted to be. But for decades, Feldman has spoken of a far darker reality, a secret the industry has actively tried to silence, a pedophile ring operating in the heart of Hollywood. He has alleged that both he and his best friend, the late Corey Haim, were systematically sexually abused by powerful men in the entertainment business. He claims this abuse was an open secret, a horrifying rite of passage for young actors that was ignored to protect powerful figures. His attempts to name his alleged abusers have been met with legal threats, professional exile, and public ridicule, showcasing a terrifying industry machine designed to bury its darkest truths and protect its predators at all costs. Drew Barrymore. As the adorable Gertie in E.T., Drew Barrymore became a global superstar at the age of 7. Born into an acting dynasty, her path seemed set. But her childhood was not one of Hollywood magic. It was one of neglect and terrifying adult pressures. Her secret wasn't hidden by the industry, but rather flaunted in plain sight. framed as a rebellious, wild child phase. By age 9, her mother was taking her to the infamous nightclub Studio 54, where she was exposed to rampant drug and alcohol use. She had her first drink at 9, began smoking marijuana at 10, and was addicted to cocaine by 12. The industry watched. The tabloids took photos, but few saw it for what it was, a story of a neglected child in desperate need of help. She was placed in rehab at 13 and legally emancipated from her parents at 14, forced to become an adult because she was never allowed to be a child. Macaulay Culkin. No child star burned brighter than Macaulay Culkin. Home Alone made him the most famous kid on the planet, a multi-millionaire icon before he hit his teens. We saw the cute kid on screen, but the dark secret was the toxic war raging behind the scenes. Culkin has described his father, Kit, as a cruel and violent man who was mentally and physically abusive, driven by jealousy of his son's success. As Macaulay's manager, his father's aggressive demands became legendary in Hollywood. But the abuse at home remained a hidden aspect of the story. The pressure culminated in a nasty public legal battle between his parents over control of his fortune. The trauma led Culkin to famously divorce his parents and quit acting at 14, walking away from it all just to escape the very people who were supposed to protect him. Amanda Bynes. With a string of hit shows on Nickelodeon, followed by beloved movies like She's the Man, Amanda Bynes was a comedic prodigy with boundless potential. Then, she vanished, only to reappear in a storm of bizarre public behavior, DUI arrests, and incoherent social media posts. The industry and public watched in confusion as she unraveled. But the buried secret was the suffocating control and pressure of the child star system itself. She later revealed her struggles with body dysmorphia, claiming that seeing herself dressed as a boy in She's the Man triggered a deep depression. Her public breakdown wasn't random. It was the tragic result of years of mental health struggles that began under the immense pressure of being a young woman in an industry that dictated her every move. Britney Spears. From the Mickey Mouse Club to global pop icon, Britney Spears was the definition of a superstar. For 13 years, however, she lived a life that wasn't her own. A secret the industry and her own family actively concealed. Under a strict conservatorship, every aspect of her life, her finances, her career, and even her reproductive health, was controlled by her father. The #FreeBritney movement brought the horrifying truth to light. She was allegedly forced to work against her will, medicated into compliance, and forbidden from removing an IUD to have more children. She was a multi-million-dollar brand, but she had no access to her own money and no say in her own life. The smiling performer on stage was, by her own account, a traumatized prisoner. Her reality, a chilling secret hidden behind a wall of legal documents and non-disclosure agreements. Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd lived out every kid's dream when he was cast as young Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. But the dream quickly became a nightmare. The role made him the target of intense and vitriolic bullying from both classmates and the public. The industry, which had cast him, offered no protection from the fallout. He was just a child facing global ridicule. The psychological toll was immense. He quit acting, but the damage was done. In his 20s, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his struggles have continued into adulthood, including a high-profile arrest and a long-term stay in a mental health facility. His story is a tragic example of how the industry can chew up a child and offer no support for the lifelong mental scars that result. Dana Plato. As the wholesome Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes, Dana Plato was America's sweetheart big sister. But the set was a pressure cooker for its young stars. Plato's secret was a descent into drug and alcohol abuse that began during the show's run. The industry's family-friendly image couldn't tolerate it. When she became pregnant in 1984, she was fired, her wholesome image deemed broken. Cast out by the system that made her famous, her life spiraled downward. She struggled with poverty, posed for Playboy to make ends meet, and was arrested for armed robbery. The industry that once celebrated her now shunned her. She died of a prescription drug overdose at age 34, a tragic end that began when the industry decided she was no longer useful. Anissa Jones. Anissa Jones was the adorable, pig-tailed Buffy on the 1960s sitcom Family Affair, one of the most recognizable child stars of her era. But she hated the role and longed to be a normal teenager. The secret the public didn't see was a troubled home life and a desperate plunge into the drug scene to escape her past. Freed from the studio system, she fell in with a fast crowd. Just 5 years after the show ended, at a party, she died of a massive, accidental drug overdose. She was only 18 years old. The coroner's report found a lethal cocktail of cocaine, PCP, Quaaludes, and Seconal in her system. A horrifying testament to how lost she had become after the Hollywood machine was done with her. River Phoenix. River Phoenix was more than a child star. He was a transcendent talent, an Oscar nominee, and the reluctant idol of a generation. But behind the beautiful facade was a young man crushed by the weight of the world. The industry sold his image as an ethereal, clean-living vegan, but this buried the truth of his deep-seated trauma. He grew up in the Children of God cult and felt immense pressure to financially support his entire family from a young age. He hated the phoniness of Hollywood and used drugs to cope with the profound anxiety it caused him. On Halloween night in 1993, he died of a drug overdose outside a Hollywood nightclub, at just 23. His tragic death revealing the secret pain the industry's manufactured image had helped to hide. Jodie Sweetin. To the world, she was the bubbly, catchphrase-spouting Stephanie Tanner on Full House. But once the show wrapped in 1995, her life became anything but perfect. The secret she hid for years was a crippling battle with drug and alcohol addiction that started when she was just 14. She felt lost, unable to live up to the good girl image the industry had created for her. Her memoir details a 15-year spiral into abuse of alcohol, cocaine, ecstasy, and most dangerously, methamphetamine. At one point, she even gave a speech about sobriety at a university, while high on cocaine, a stark illustration of the deep disconnect between her public persona and her private hell. The Olsen twins. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were more than stars. They were an empire. From sharing a role on Full House at 9 months old, they built a billion-dollar brand. They were always smiling, always working. The dark secret was the sheer, soul-crushing toll of a childhood that was never their own. It was a life of non-stop labor, with their every move monetized. They famously gained legal control of their own company on their 18th birthday, and almost immediately began their retreat from the public eye. Mary-Kate later entered treatment for an eating disorder, a condition often linked to intense pressure and a lack of control. Their complete withdrawal from acting speaks volumes. They were escaping an industry that had consumed their entire youth. Tatum O'Neal. Tatum O'Neal achieved the impossible, winning an Academy Award for Paper Moon at the tender age of 10. She was officially the most talented child actress in the world, but her victory hid a deeply traumatic secret. In her memoir, she details a childhood of severe emotional and physical abuse and neglect at the hands of her father. She also alleges she was sexually molested by a friend of her father's at just 6 years old. While the industry celebrated her talent, it turned a blind eye to the chaos of her home life. This early trauma led to her own lifelong battles with drug addiction, a cycle of pain that began long before she ever held her Oscar. Her story is a chilling reminder that an Academy Award is no shield against a childhood of horror. Aaron Carter. As the younger brother of a Backstreet Boy, Aaron Carter was pop royalty in the late 90s. But as he grew older, his public life became a series of increasingly erratic and desperate cries for help. The secret that emerged was a lifetime of trauma and alleged abuse. He claimed to have been sexually abused by his late sister Leslie, and also accused his brother Nick of lifelong abuse. He publicly battled with severe mental health issues and a powerful addiction. The industry that had made him a teen idol watched from the sidelines as he spiraled, his struggles becoming fodder for reality TV and tabloids. He died tragically at age 34. A final, heartbreaking chapter in a life that never truly escaped its early trauma. Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple was the biggest star in the world during the Great Depression, a beacon of hope whose dimples saved a studio from bankruptcy. But even she was not immune to the industry's dark side. In her autobiography, she revealed a chilling secret. During a meeting, a producer for MGM exposed himself to her. She was just 12 years old. Her response was to laugh, which diffused the situation. But the incident reveals the predatory behavior that has always existed behind the scenes, even towards the most powerful child in Hollywood. The industry protected its own, forcing even a child to navigate a world of powerful, predatory men. Mischa Barton. As we touched on before, Mischa Barton's role on the OC made her an international star. The show's success, however, put her under an unbearable microscope. The secret wasn't just that she was partying too much, as the tabloids suggested, but the profound psychological breakdown she was experiencing. She later revealed the immense pressure of being sexualized at such a young age, and the relentless public criticism about her weight. "It was a full-on breakdown," she said of the period that led to her being placed on an involuntary psychiatric hold. The industry wanted the it girl for magazine covers, but offered no support system for the actual young woman who was struggling to survive the very fame it had given her. Hayden Panettiere. Hayden Panettiere was a seasoned pro by her teens, starring in hits like Remember the Titans, and later becoming an icon as the cheerleader in Heroes. But the secret to her on-camera confidence was a dangerous one, initiated by the very people meant to guide her. She revealed that when she was just 15, someone on her own team began giving her happy pills before red carpet interviews to make her seem peppy. This act opened a door to a decades-long struggle with opioid and alcohol addiction. While starring as a country singer battling addiction on the show Nashville, she was secretly living out a parallel reality, her life imitating her art in the most destructive way. Gary Coleman, with his famous catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" Gary Coleman was the undeniable superstar of Different Strokes. He was a pop culture phenomenon, but the secret the world didn't know was that he was being ruthlessly exploited. When he turned 18, he discovered that his parents and his former manager had squandered nearly his entire multi-million-dollar fortune, leaving him with a fraction of what he had earned. He successfully sued them, but the bitterness consumed him. He spent the rest of his life struggling financially and emotionally, a tragic symbol of financial exploitation, abandoned by the industry that profited from his childhood. Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato shot to fame as a Disney Channel star. The network sold an image of a happy, talented teen. The buried secret was the immense trauma unfolding behind the scenes. Lovato has revealed they were sexually assaulted during their time at Disney and developed bulimia at a young age due to the pressure to be thin. After famously punching a backup dancer in 2010, they entered rehab, but revealed the decision was a punishment from the Disney machine to protect the brand. They were forced into a cycle of treatment and work, their health secondary to their career obligations. Their near-fatal overdose years later was the culmination of trauma that began when the industry prioritized their image over their well-being. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan's story is a tragic case study of talent overshadowed by turmoil. After her breakout success with Mean Girls, she was on top of the world, but the industry that built her up also fed the machine that tore her down. The secret wasn't just that she was making bad choices, it was that her every misstep became a profitable spectacle. Paparazzi were paid fortunes for photos of her at her lowest moments. Tabloids sold millions of copies detailing her struggles, and late-night hosts turned her pain into punchlines. The industry didn't just fail to protect her, it created a lucrative market out of her destruction, turning a cry for help into a multi-million-dollar media enterprise, a spectacle that consumed her career for over a decade. The pattern is undeniable, and it is unforgivable. A child's talent is discovered, celebrated, and monetized. But when the pressures become too much, when the inevitable struggles of growing up are compounded by global fame, the very industry that profited from their youth either turns a blind eye or actively participates in covering up the dark reality. These stories are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of a systemic problem. They are the human cost of our entertainment. A chilling reminder that behind every smiling child on a poster, there may be a secret story of pain, a story that deserves to be heard. The brightest lights often cast the darkest shadows, and it is in those shadows that the truth of Hollywood is truly found.